All right, here we go. Factoring trinomials. This is where algebra starts getting hard, starts getting abstract. We got to follow these long, difficult procedures, and we couldn't really be having more fun, let's be honest. Let's get into it. So factoring takes an object, a mathematical object in this case, and it divides it into multiples. So for instance, we could take 10 and we could split that into 2 times 5, right? We can take negative 12 and we could split that into 3 times negative 4. We can also factor polynomials, but it takes a few steps. Right here, I'm factoring a trinomial, right here, n squared minus 1n minus 6, into two binomials multiplied together, n minus 3 and n plus 2. Now notice that all of these are polynomials, right? They all have one variable. They have the powers. They have all the characteristics of polynomials. Trinomial has 1, 2, 3 terms, and the binomials each have 2 terms. Okay, so the current form of the polynomial right below is 2 binomials. If I multiply them together, this changes the form of the equation to a trinomial. So this is the opposite of factoring. So the process I'm going to teach you takes you from the trinomial form and goes back to the binomial form. Okay, so here we go. What is the process? So we start here with our trinomial, n squared plus 7n plus 10. And the first step is we multiply the first and last coefficient. So we take the first coefficient right here, which is an invisible and kind of just assumed 1. We don't bother to write the 1. And we multiply that times the last coefficient, which is a 10. 1 times 10 is 10. And then we factor that product. So when we factor this product, we get 1 times 10 and 2 times 5. So go ahead and pause the video here and make sure you're following along. If you watch this video all the way through without practicing along with me, you might not get so much out of it. So make sure to pause each step and write down with me and make sure you understand each step as we go. So okay, here we go. After you've copied this down and paused the video and thought about this for a second, proceed when you're ready. The next step is we're going to choose a factor pair and we're going to split the middle coefficient. Okay, so we're going to look at our factor pairs right here, and we're going to choose 2 and 5 because I noticed that this 7 right here, I can split that into 2 plus 5. I could also say 5 plus 2 and everything would be fine. Okay, now we can form 2 binomials added together. So n squared plus 2n plus 5n plus 10, right? And we're going to factor these binomials. Now note to my future self and note to other teachers, this might be a great thing to practice ahead of time. Now, this is the most critical and probably the trickiest step of the procedure. We're going to take each one of these binomials and we're going to try to split it into 2 things that could be multiplied together and give us the original. And I'm going to show you what those are. So for n squared plus 2n, we're going to split it into n multiplied by n plus 2. N times n gives you n squared. N times 2 gives you 2n. 5n plus 10, we're going to split that into 5 and n plus 2. Now we need to factor one more time. We're going to rewrite what everything looks like. And we're going to end up with n plus 5 times n plus 2. Success. Now we've formed 2 binomials. So a note that these 2 expressions are identical. This is the trinomial version and this is the factored binomial version. But they have the same graphs, they have the same roots, they have the same numbers. Everything is equivalent about them. They're just written in a different form. So there we go. We've factored. Do your dance. Oh, it feels so good to be done. Now we're going to do a lot more. Okay, before we end the video, we're going to do one more, and we're going to do it by hand, and we're going to pick a little bit of a more complex trinomial. Okay, so we're going to be factoring a slightly more complicated polynomial this time. We have 3r squared minus 16r minus 12. Okay, but we're going to use the exact same process. We're going to take 3 and negative 12, and we're going to multiply them together and get negative 36. Now we're going to factor negative 36, and we get 1 and negative 36, negative 1 and positive 36, 2 and negative 18, negative 2 and positive 18, 3 and negative 12, negative 3 and positive 12, and let's see, 4 and negative 9, and we can keep going and going and going. There's a lot of factor pairs here, but I actually am seeing the one that I need right here. Negative 18 and positive 2. If I combine those two numbers together, I would get negative 16. So we're going to split this, 3r squared plus 2r minus 18r minus 12. So I've just taken this 16 and split it into a positive 2 and a negative 18. Now I'm going to factor these two right here. So I'm going to separate out an r, and that will leave me with 3r plus 2. And then from these two, I'm going to factor a negative 6 and be left with 3r plus 2. And then I can factor one more time, regrouping like this, r minus 6, 3r plus 2. Do my happy dance one last time, and wish you the very best of luck in your factoring journey. Thanks for watching. Have fun.